Okay, it's night time for me, and this thing's pretty grainy. And I've noticed I typically don't open my eyes very much. But who cares? The point being, I see a lot of stuff about the brake pads on the 2017 Kia Soul, or doing a brake job. A few things I found out in doing my own, and I thought I'd pass it along. Again, 2017 Kia Soul front brakes. Took it to different guys. One guy tried to tell me all the rotors were shot. Another guy, the dealership wanted to charge me like $330. And I told him there was a problem with the shocks too. The car has 37,200 or something miles on it. Both the brakes and the tires were shot at that point, um, which is not exciting. But I went ahead and did the brake job myself, which I did not replace the rotors. The right side had a little bit of scoring, but it wasn't bad. Um, and of course, the way I knew the brakes were bad is the little noise thing started going off. And essentially, I guess what that thing does is it scores the rotors for you. So don't drive on it if it's making that noise. I didn't know what the hell the noise was, so I took it around and finally I recorded it actually on my phone while I was driving. And people would listen to it and not tell me what it was. So, it just, if you think you're going to trust a mechanic, don't. Not unless he's your brother and he owes you money or something. Uh, I found one good mechanic in my life, and he retired. But anyway, I digress. So, the one good piece of advice I've gotten is use uh, the OEM parts. If you have a Kia Soul, get your brake pads from Kia. The, what do you call it, rotors, maybe not so much. But the brake pads that I got first, I went to Napa and they gave me pads that were too big. And then I took them back and they said, well, the way this works is a 2017 has a 2017 body, but it has a 2016 chassis, and the pads for that are different size. So I got the right size pad. Problem there was that there's little springs that you take off. Um, and I think, well, I'm sure what they do is they hold the pads apart so that they don't drag on the brakes. Well, in the original brake pads from Kia, there's two springs and four holes. In the brake pads that I got, there are two holes. So I was only able to put in one spring. So far, so good. I haven't heard any dragging or anything like that. It's stopping well, and you know, it's cool. So those are some tricks, or some not necessarily tricks, but those are things that it's good to know. Another thing is, what is the other thing? You do need some kind. Some people will tell you, oh well, you can compress the calipers. Just put the old brake pad there and put a adjustable, whatever, crescent wrench on it. No bueno. No, what you need is that little tool that, and you see, I'm sure you can buy it or make it or whatever, that butts up against the one side, the inside of the caliper, and then you can screw onto the old brake pad to compress the piston. Because you are not going to get it on there unless you completely compress the piston. I wound up went through my tools and found a thing for um, doing plumbing. I think it was to remove it was a puller for plumbing, but I didn't use the puller part. I just butted it up against the thing and was able to compress it that way. But doing and you don't want to do it like with putting a wrench directly on the piston because it has a rubber boot, and that'll mess it up. So those are a couple of tips that uh, will help save you a little aggravation if you do your own stuff. I haven't had to change rotors because this is the first time I've done the brakes. Probably next time around I'll have to take them off and have them cut, or just get new rotors. In either case, if I do it myself, I've heard that it can be a challenge to take the two screws out that hold the rotor to the hub. And don't use, I don't think at least, double check on this, but you probably don't want to use a regular Phillips, number 2 Phillips on it to unscrew it, because it looks like a Phillips, but it's not. It's one of these chinky things that have a different cut to it. And if you want to spend, I saw a guy on YouTube spend $18 on that. It's also an impact loosener, driver and or loosener. And it when you hit it, it breaks it and loosens, turns it 17 degrees at a time. Considering the heat and everything, those things can be on there well. There's some other videos, if you check it out, where you can put a ball peen hammer on the one end and hit it with the hammer to break it loose and all of that stuff. But I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm just giving you a heads up that, ideally, if there's any scoring on the rotor, you should change it. But I only paid $32 for the pads, so that basically was about all I had into it. I figure if I get 10, 20,000 miles out of it, that saves me. The cheapest guy that I found was going to do it for about $220, $240. So that the pads were $30, so it saved me pretty close to $200. And just a heads up for all those die-hard fix-it-yourself guys. I don't have any pretty pictures to show you, but there's plenty of them on YouTube. There's about 2 good ones for the 2017, and just one guy in general that I like is Scotty Kilmer. He has all kinds of good stuff about cars and keeping them running and all of that. Good tips on that. You might want to check into that. So that's it for now. Power to the car people. Peace, brothers. Bye.